You're listening to The Sizzle on Iron Skillet Radio and Iron Skillet Television.
You know who it is. You know what it is. It's The Sizzle, baby. Back in the building. Bigger, better, older. Still here. How about that one? I couldn't even get it.
No, that's right. I know that's right.
Hey, Jay, it's good
That's
seeing
Raleigh.
you, man. It's good seeing you, bro. It's good
Man.
for us being together again, bro. That's what I'm thankful for. That was my Thanksgiving wish.
Absolutely, bro. Man, look, hey, missed you, man, while you was out there gallivanting about. But glad to see you made it back to the land of the sizzle, the home of the hot and the brave. You know? Why is my microphone all centered in my face? How come I can't get it? You know, I'm having all types of problems, bro. Hey, man, you know, you're having a problem, man, when the microwave stopped working on Thanksgiving. You know, it's just all types of wrong. It's just all types of wrong, man. When the microwave, man, how you gonna heat up the third plate? You know what I'm saying? I had to go out there today, man, and brave the people, man, out there in the
In the
Black
elements.
Friday.
Yes.
Oh, dude, it is like a whole different tribe of people out there, man. I see little old ladies with carts and canes that was like swinging. Man, I mean, trying to get this stuff, man, it was crazy. We tried to go get a microwave. The microwave shelf looked like the locusts must be heating up the Thanksgiving meals because there was like 3 microwaves left on the shelf. 3.
Really?
You know, they had the economy $69 microwave. Then they had the $435 microwave that nobody's gonna buy. And then, you know, it got everything. It bring the food to you.
Right.
You know, it called Mars. You know what I'm saying? But the microwave I got, which I would have not got this microwave, but it actually has a rotary dial on it, and it heats up your food, and then stops heating up your food when it thinks it's hot enough for you. So you can't even overheat your own food. I don't know if I like it or not, but I got it though. So you know,
Well, it's a microwave. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a microwave.
It's a win.
So, you know, made it. Dude, I can now heat up my dressing, and you know, there's some other things you cannot heat up in your microwave. I did not get any chitterings on my plate, which I'm glad about that, because you know, when you don't make up your own plate, you can instantly anything can happen.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? You can get chestnuts in your dressing. No, you can get. Hey man, who eats the cranberry sauce with the whole cranberries in it? Who does that? Because that ain't right. There was some of that on. I went to a house that had some of that was on the table. It was blasphemy. I say again, blasphemy.
I tell you, that's not as bad as the potato salad with the raisins in it.
Man, well, yeah, you know, that's when you're just trying too hard.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Too hard. You ever get the potato salad, man, and the potatoes ain't cooked all the way? Ever had that? It's like,
You're like, why?
We want our potato salad like mashed potatoes with a little bit of chunk in it. Yeah. That's how we eat our mashed potatoes. I don't want to sit up here and gnaw on like I'm gnawing on a raw potato.
A raw potato. You know it's just like a big raw potato, like a corner of a potato. They just
it's just wrong. You know what I'm saying? It's just wrong. And my poly grip don't work all the time. You know what I'm saying? So
oh, boy.
All right, man.
All right, so I guess it's time to really talk about what we came to talk about.
Oh, do we have to?
Well, we could even talk about the listless Bulls who, if they don't get their act together, they're going to find themselves in a tailwind, and you're not as good as you think you are. I don't know what you thought.
Well, okay, so do we think the Bulls have been reading their own press clippings? Do we think that number 2 in the East? You think that number 2 in the East? They popped up there. They got it like a screensaver. It just pops up and just goes number 2 in the East. Well, I'm number 2 in the East. You know, we going to the Eastern Conference Championship. Like, oh, hold on, dude. That's still about 65 more games to play.
Yeah, bro. When you start drinking your own Kool-Aid, this is what happens. You do have to remember when it comes to players like, let's say, DeMar DeRozan. The team he was on that drafted him, that he was the diehard for, they won a championship after they traded him. So
absolutely correct. Yeah. There's a reason why he wasn't there. You know what I'm saying? Now, have the Bulls looked better? Yes. But here's the whole thing about it. We all know this to be true and to be self-evident. We see the same thing happen to Patrick Mahomes. Not saying the Bulls is any form of correlation to Patrick Mahomes, but these are professionals, and they will figure out what your weaknesses are, and they will exploit those weaknesses if they can. And we're starting to see the Bulls right now can score enough points to win, because the Bulls were really relying on this defense, and now the defense has not really been there for them like they needed to be.
Yeah. And you know, I know another team where the defense hasn't been there, but somehow on Gobble Day, they were able to look, man. I hope for the best and prepare for the worst, but when it comes to the Bears, okay, so you have a week of foolishness that's going on. Now you've got Andy Dalton back. You've got David Montgomery, who can't figure out what hole to run through. And you've got a defense that can't stop anybody. So, Merry Christmas, Happy Thanksgiving.
You know, I was secretly rooting for the Lions to win this game. Because, hey, I posted it in Messenger. I was like, please score right here, Lions, score. And here's my reasons for that, right? Because right now I have a feeling that somehow, some way, these Bears are going to go on a little bit of a run. And I think Matt Nagy's going to figure out how to get Andy Dalton out there in this offense, running his offense, because he knows Justin Fields can't run his offense. He can't tailor the offense to fit Fields, but Andy Dalton can run this offense. And somehow, some way, they magically got 300 yards when they should have lost this ball game out of Andy Dalton. And now you're about to find the Chicago Bears maybe go on a 2-game, maybe even a 3-game win streak. And all of a sudden you see a resurgence of the Bears, just enough to miss the playoffs. And we see Coach Matt Nagy back at the helm again next year. I would not be surprised if that happens.
Okay. May I have just a few minutes for my diatribe? Just a few. I'm going to say it again, Jay. The same thing I've said from the beginning. Okay. No one in upper management, no one in ownership knows a damn thing about management. How about that? I'm just going to put it out there. You can teach, you can be an attorney, you can be the president of operations, you can do whatever you want. But when you can't figure out that the same person has been at the helm for all of the shenanigans, when you have someone who's the president of football operations and he doesn't know football, it's good if you're the president of business operations, but not football operations. And the fact that they continuously, you get the same results. This is Dick Duran all over again. This is whatever coach. The only era since the Super Bowl of the Chicago Bears that has been somewhat compelling has been the Lovie Smith era. And They were quick to usher Lovie out once things went a little bad. Old Lovie had to go. Well, let's see, my friends. Since Lovie Smith, you've only had one winning season. One. Thursday's game represented the first time in 8 years that the Bears have had a drive longer than 8 minutes.
Yeah. Ball control not.
How do you justify someone who is supposed to be an offensive guru? Now, I watched other games. Okay, so I watched Buffalo. Buffalo, oh gosh, they decimated. I mean, that Buffalo game was so ridiculous that I felt sorry for the players on the other team. It was that bad. It got into that bad. The Raiders went in and put the slap down on the Cowboys. At no point did you think the Cowboys were going to win. You saw, okay, they tied it up. It was nice. But then by the time you went to overtime, you're like, now I think the Raiders got them on this one. You never say that about the Bears. You never say, yeah, I think they got them. I think offensively they're going to put up 24, 34.
Oh,
any 4 points.
24. 24. They've taken inoculations against scoring anything over 21 points. You know, this is one of the most inept offenses we've ever seen in Chicago. And we're going way back to when teams didn't even score. You're talking back in the Walter Payton days. We had those 9 and 6 games, those 10 and 3 games. They were normal. You know, and this offense would be even inept in that type of atmosphere. It's just like you said. It's
this offense would be inept in the Super Bowl era, after the Super Bowl era. Let's see. I don't know why I'm stuck on Dick Duran, because maybe that's just what my mind during that era. But I mean,
well, you know what it is. I think you know what. I'm gonna tell you why you stuck on Dick Duran. I'll let you get right back to your point. Because we thought he couldn't get any worse. You know?
You're right.
We thought Dick Duran, that was the lowest it was going to get. Everything's up from that point on, and you know.
Yeah. They even had a better offense with Foxy. You know, John Fox at least gave you traditional offense. You knew you were going to run up the A or the B.
He was just tired.
Yeah, and he didn't care. He just no longer cared.
Yeah, he was just tired.
And then, you know what was amazing? Guess what I saw, Jay? I'm watching the Bills game. They're so dominant that they sit their starting quarterback, and guess who they bring in?
Who?
Oh.
What the?
Congratulations to you, Trubisky, for getting ready to have a baby, getting ready to get a new contract somewhere. Good old Mitchell Trubisky came in and held it down for the Bills.
I told people before, they were all over me. And I said, Mitchell Trubisky was not that bad of a quarterback. He is just in a bad situation called the Chicago Bears. Who said? I think it was the punky QB. You said it best. I think is that who said it? The Chicago Bears. No, did they say the Chicago Bears was a place where the quarterback comes to die or a wide receiver comes to die? Who said that?
Well, punky QB said, Jim McMahon said that, but Musa Muhammad said that Chicago's where receivers go to die.
Yeah, and there's a reason for that, because they're noted for not getting the ball out, not setting up schemes to make their quarterbacks be efficient enough to make hay in the NFL. This is, how are you consistently this bad at offense? Mm-hmm. And I don't care who you bring in there now. I mean, I don't care. I mean, we saw the number 6 come in from Denver. Me, like a lot of other people, were very happy that he was here. Mm-hmm. Some people weren't, but he was a real NFL QB.
Right. Okay, Jay. So, all right. So we talk about the ineptness of the Bears and just how bad this has gotten, and it's gotten to this point. But again, I'll say, until you change the management structure of this thing, until you get a football president, until somebody who is the answer, the be-all answer to football things, not the GM. The GM is not supposed to be the one who rectifies all things. They're the one who does contract management. They go in and negotiate with agents. They make sure that the roster is set and that you're filling it with needs as they arise. But they are not supposed to be the person who is over all football operations. That should be your president of football operations. That should be the person who says, this is the style of play we're going to run. This is how we're going to get. That president should have the blueprint for how you get to the Super Bowl. If that president hasn't got a blueprint, then how are you ever going to make it to the Super Bowl?
Yeah, you know, you're exactly correct on that, but I thought just sort of flashed through my mind. Every once in a while, a thought does flash through my mind, but this would actually stay. Are we looking at a Chicago Blackhawks situation before Rocky Wirtz took over?
Most definitely.
You remember the Blackhawks when they wouldn't put the games on TV?
Right, on TV
remember when they weren't doing all, you remember that, and then there was a changing of the upper management by not upper management's choice, and all of a sudden Rocky Wirtz now is in control. All you saw the Chicago Blackhawks become the darlings in the NFL. You saw them drafting differently. You started them being more, and all of a sudden they were the it team in pro sports for a while there. You still have some of that group still hanging on right now. You still got the Jonathan Taves and the couple of the other Blackhawks. Patrick Kane still there from that era. Is this a problem? Does upper management need to change?
This is a problem that again,
because
it's systemic to the whole. This goes back squarely on the ineptitude of the McCaskey family. This isn't something that's obscure. This is, Ted Phillips, he might be a good money man. And here's my dream, Jay. Here's my dream. In one of my best dreams, George steps down as team president. One of whoever's there takes over the board because, I mean, Virginia McCaskey had 11 kids. All 11 can't be this inept. And only 2, I think, are dead out of the 11. So they can't all be that inept. Maybe they could.
Is this Virginia McCaskey? I want to say it. I'm putting it out there. Is this Virginia McCaskey's fault? Because I think the buck literally stopped with her. I don't care who you put. Is she capable of removing the president?
I don't think
of the Chicago Bears?
I don't think she is. I think she's more of a figurehead. And it really speaks to how sad George is as a man. And I'm just going to put it out there. As a man, if you can't make a mark on this league by yourself without having to reference your 90-plus-year-old mother or the history of your grandfather, if you can't say, look, this is what we're going to do to get this team in contention. Yeah, you can be around Jerry Jones and the rest of the ownerships and the Robert Krafts and the people who laugh at you because you are inept. And they love having you around because they know that you're never going to be in their way because you're not a force. You're not a factor. Nothing about the Bears has been a factor. I will even go as far to say as they lucked into the 85 championship because after 85, you go 86, 87, 88, 89, they never got back to a Super Bowl. And in 85, they were beat by Dan Marino.
Well, he's the greatest quarterback without a championship.
However you want to cut it, if he's the greatest quarterback without a championship and that was the greatest defense of all time, how did you let a second year QB mollywop you? Not just beat you. He mollywopped the Bears that game. So the question is, have you ever had a plan for what you want this? We keep always hearing these nice euphemisms. The Bears get off the bus running. Why don't the Bears get out the bus winning? How about that? Why don't you try and win the game? You had the best running back the Bears have had since Walter Payton. The best that they've had since Walter Payton. No one even talks about. No one even mentions his name because you never got to see the best of him because he was stuck in muck and mire of this foolishness that's called the Bears. You can't even go back.
Yeah.
Tell me one great Bears receiver. I mean, the best maybe you got is Brandon Marshall, Wilbur Marshall.
There hasn't been a great Bears wide receiver. There's never been one.
No.
There's not one. There's not one in the top 20 in the NFL. I mean, you top 20, top 30, top 40 wide receivers all time. There's not one. There's not one.
I would go to say as
absolutely
far as top 50. The only one you might get close to is Brandon Marshall, somewhere in the hundreds or lower, back in near the hundreds.
Yeah, maybe.
That's
maybe.
it.
And that's maybe.
Again, you still had.
They've never
had the best receiver running back combo. Matt Forte still is not looked at as one of the best of his era, of that time in era. And they had some good running backs, but
well, in the NFL, all these guys drafted into the league can be really good running backs if they have a solid offensive line in front of them. That's just it. If you have, I don't care what offensive line you put in front of a great back, if it's a mediocre offensive line, he might pop one here and there, but he's going to be on his butt more than likely during out that season because there's just nowhere to run. If you take Derrick Henry, if you take Ezekiel Elliott, if you take any of these guys at their prime and you put them behind a bad offensive line, they're getting stopped in the backfield. That's just what's happening. So I don't care what running back. It's just amazing that you had a Matt Forte who was able to exploit one-on-ones in the pass game, getting the ball, swinging it outside, being able to attack outside, to get outside and not take the big hits when he was running inside, that he was able to rack up the yardage that he was able to rack up because we've just never had a great offensive line here. Yeah, we had the Jimbo Coverts here, and we had a few other people like that, Bortz and those guys like that. But that offensive line was bolstered by that Bears defense. And that Bears defense, because they ran that 4-6 and nobody knew how to block a 4-6. To me, that's the same thing as teams who came out when they were just playing man on man in basketball, and all of a sudden you broke out a zone. A team never seen a zone before doesn't know how to deal with it. They had never seen the 4-6 defense before. They didn't know how to deal with it. If you run a 4-6 defense right now in the NFL, you will get crushed. So I think they were just the first one in line to run that 4-6 defense, and that's why they were so great. And after a while, you saw it took about 3 seasons later, and all of a sudden the Bears were back being an average football team, and a lot of that had to do because they just weren't great on the offensive line. I mean, here's the thing that's sad about this, right? You look at Tom Brady, who left the Patriots, and we thought the Patriots were done, right? Thought the Patriots were cooked up there. And now you got the rookie coming up there, Mac Jones, who's a cerebral type quarterback, who I said earlier, remember I said Mac Jones, like this kid, but they figure out a way to put a decent to good offensive line, consistent offensive line in front of him. They get the ball out of his hands. He knows how to read defenses, and look what's happening up in New England. They're talking about the Super Bowl might have to come through the New England Patriots without Tom Brady. That's because they know how to create an offensive line and know how to use a quarterback's strength. We don't know how to do that here in Chicago because we've never had a quarterback. We never had one.
Let's look at the Bucks by themselves. The Bucks were able to take Tom Brady, put together a plan for Tom Brady, and probably they've had everybody who's played in the league run through Tampa Bay at some point for a tryout or has been on their team. But they had a plan. Tom Brady knows how to get to the Super Bowl. There was a plan in place for Tom Brady. The same thing, there was a plan in place for Matt Jones. There's a plan in place for a lot of these young quarterbacks. Look at the success now Jalen Hurts is having. And I did say, those of you who slept on Jalen Hurts, you would learn that once a system was put in play for him, once he learned offense, once the line started blocking for him, then you would have a competent QB. Same thing we're saying here in Chicago. You just need a competent, I don't know, Jay, you tell me, how good is this line? Because I keep hearing they're doing better, they're making improvements. I hear Olin Kreutz say that they're getting better or they're doing this. And yes, if I were Matt Nagy yesterday, I probably would have soloed and given props to my left tackle. I probably would have talked about him halfway through the presser to say this is a 41-year-old left tackle who's been holding it down. Jason Peters came in, was in a bad position. We really need to give kudos to those kind of players. You need to give kudos to your defenders who are doing their job. But when it comes to that offensive line, Jay, I have to defer to your knowledge. Are they actually coming together and becoming a good line, or is this all smoke and mirrors that we're seeing with them?
Well, a lot of smoke and mirrors. Anytime you have to go get a guy off the fishing boat who was not being signed by anyone else in the league, right? He wasn't on a plane flying into New England. He wasn't on his way to the Texans. He wasn't on his way to the Browns. He was on his way to the dock to put his boat in the water and go get out here and go fish for some crappie or whatever else he was fishing for at that particular. He probably had the cornmeal and the grease at home ready for the fish fry, because I'm sure he's a cornmeal and fish fry grease type of guy. All right. Here was a guy that they had to go get off the boat, give him a few extra $1 million, and now he comes in and becomes one of your better offensive linemen. So what does that tell you? Your offensive line all should have been on the boat fishing with him. They shouldn't have been starting in the league either. And so now this is a makeshift ragtag group. If they were out on Gilligan's Island, they'd all be dead by now. You know what I'm saying? The professor...
No Marianne, no Ginger.
No, you know, all 5 of them guys out there, they'd be dead by now. You know, because the minnow would have sunk and never made it to the island. You know what I'm saying? They could even hold the minnow down. You know, the thing about it is, it's not these guys' fault. It's tough to be an average offensive lineman in the NFL. It's tough to be top 15 in your position. Tough to be in. We had that guy. Remember, we used to crack on Mr. Leno all that period of time, right? Who held it down over on that side for a decade. We sort of miss him now. We sort of miss him because that's what an average offensive lineman looks like. It's sad. I just don't. I think, and we've talked about this ad nauseum beforehand, that if you do not pour all your resources, and I mean all your resources, into constructing an all-pro offensive line. When is the last time we had an all-pro come off the offensive line? And I'm not talking about, you know, the alternate all-pros. Those don't count. You know, Mitchell Trubisky was all-pro. You know what I'm saying? But that don't count. I'm talking about when you are a consensus #1 all-pro offensive lineman. When's the last time we had that guy?
I think the last one you had, they screwed up by throwing him all over the place, was Kyle Long. That was your all-pro right guard. That was all season, all tackle, all NFL. He could have gone on to be one of the greatest right guards in Bears history.
And here is the caveat to that. When he was making his return to the NFL, the one place he did not stop to go to was Hallis Hall.
That's right.
He went to all the other teams. You mean to tell me the team that gave you your start, the team that you bled for, the team that you worked out with, that if you're going to make your start to come back, that you don't go there first to see if there's an opening for you on a really bad offensive line?
Right.
That just tells you what emphasis they place on offensive line play here in Chicago. Because whoever these offensive line coaches are that they're hiring, they're not putting enough money toward that particular coaching position. And anybody knows from Pee Wee football to the pros that the offensive line is your engine of your football team. If you have a good offensive line, your football team is going to be good. If you have a great offensive line, you are going to win championships. That's just true. And the Bears right now, their offensive line is really bad. And that's when you see the Chicago Bears playing against a team who had not won a football game, was one fumble snap away from having the worst loss that the Chicago Bears have ever had. And I'm including the Super Bowls and everything else like that. Because had they lost that game to the Lions, it don't get no worse than that.
Yeah. Yeah.
It
can't. And I'm a defensive guy. I believe in defense. I will always yield to defense. But at this point, when you're trying to appease Akeem Hicks and Eddie Goldman, and see, I've seen now some still shots of some of their positioning, and you wonder who even taught them technique, form, and how to get in their stance. You begin to ask yourself, okay, how is it that the Bears are stuck with these middling, old, aging linemen, and you have a team like the Buffalo Bills who are doing an 8-man rotation? They got 4 coming in fresh, then they get another 4 in fresh. None of the Buffalo Bills on Thanksgiving Day, none of their defensive linemen played more than 25 snaps. None of them.
Yeah, because they can rotate them.
But you can rotate when you have a plan and you're not trying to pay top dollar for an aging nose tackle, and you're not trying to put in, and you're not trying to build this facade that the defense is great. We see it all over the league. You see it with Dallas. You see it at other places. You saw it with Tennessee with the Titans. They have guys that nobody's heard of. You don't know who those cats are. You've never heard of their defensive tackles or their ends. You've never seen them before. You don't even know that they're in the NFL. But they come and they show up when they need to show up. So at this point, you got an Eddie Jackson sitting there making millions who can't even cover. I mean, if you can't cover as a safety, then what's the point? What is the real point? What's the point of having you there?
Well, and I'm surprised because Eddie Jackson was going to be my next point that I was going to bring up. And I think we're seeing the same thing. I think Eddie Jackson is checked out. I think he's trying to get through this season uninjured. Because I saw Thursday that there was a play that a running back was still up and literally breaking away, tried to get upfield, and Eddie Jackson was not coming up full speed to fill and get a hit on that back. He literally was slow strolling up there, and this guy looked like he was. They ended up bringing him down, but Eddie Jackson was not flying up there to make a hit. Now, some people say, well, Eddie Jackson's got to be playing in a position that if he does break away, he's the last line of defense or whatever the situation was. But this guy is in the grasp already, and you're within 5 or 6 yards of him, and he's still struggling to get out of there. You're supposed to come up and lay wood. And I saw Eddie Jackson, who did not come up, who was walking up as a guy was still struggling, trying to get away. To me, that's a guy who's checked out.
I'm just saying,
said, I'm not going to risk my body.
If the best of Eddie Jackson was when he was paired with Adrian Amos, and once you let him go to Green Bay, now you have a situation where you don't have a strong safety that can come down, fill the box. Your free safety acts like he doesn't know what his assignment is. He acts like he doesn't understand. No one can get behind me. I don't care what the play call is. At some point when I see that receiver's breaking and he's pushing and he's driving past me, I have to call and say, I got to take him, because if he gets loose, that's a touchdown. See, these are the little things. And as you said, when it goes back to Pop Warner football, you teach babies that. They even know the deepest man. You got to cover deep man. But if you've checked out Eddie Jackson, the defense is there.
But look who they lost when all this started falling apart. There was a corner that was playing on the other side who was being the heart and soul of this football team, who actually had got into the weight room and built himself up, and all of a sudden became an enforcer out there. And that was Mr. Fuller. And you decided, the Chicago Bears decided not to pay that man. And therein lies the demise of your secondary. Because from that point on, that secondary has been trash. It hasn't been. Eddie Jackson has not been playing that well. What about the young fella, the Pro Bowler on the other side? They said that he was going to be the greatest thing since sliced chicken and banana sandwiches.
Well,
I haven't heard much from that fella.
Little Peanut Tillman can do what he will, and he can do what he must. But if you're the only one back there, that defense, you will bust. And I don't care. It's not on Sean Desai. It's really not. Even though he is the coach and he should get the blame. His defense, you know what, Jay? I'll take it to the level and say, because I will question your effort and energy. I have no problem with questioning your effort when your effort is already on tape. We see what your effort is right now. I'm looking at a whole defense. I'm looking at a Khalil Mack that checked out, said, I'd rather get surgery. I'm gone. I'm looking at, when you look at Akeem Hicks, who can no longer be at the level because of injury and because of just attrition. Injury and attrition, he's no longer at that level. Eddie Goldman, you had to literally beg to come back and play for you. Please come back, Eddie Goldman.
Only played
please knows.
Only played 45% of the snaps. Eddie Goldman only played 45% of the snaps. What does that tell you? I don't want to be here either. Why should I be out here?
Look at me. Look at me very well, people. There's a reason why I look like an old ball coach right now. It is because right now I am trying to figure out what I can do to help the Bears win something. That's how bad it's gotten that people, and I believe, Jay, and maybe I'm wrong, I believe that not only have the players checked out, but the fan base is checked out. I believe everybody at Hallis Hall is checked out right now.
Here's the scary thing, right? Here's the scary thing about this, right? We see Akeem Hicks, the warrior, being carried out on his shield. Literally, he's not in there. Mm-hmm. You see Khalil Mack's checked out, right? He said, I'm going to get this surgery done. I'm not going back out here. I got another contract I can sign. I'm not going out here for this nonsense. But who is balling out of their minds right now all of a sudden? Mm-hmm. Has 11 sacks on the year already. Didn't know where he was for 2 years. When he had help. All of a sudden, now you see Robert Quinn balling out of his mind. Now you see him don't know how to stay on sides. Him gonna line up literally every play. Robert Quinn is offsides. Literally, he's half ahead into the neutral zone. Literally. And he got called for that twice in back-to-back in one game, and he still was lining up like that. He was offsides at least 10 different times in this game on Thanksgiving Day. Mm-hmm. They just didn't call it. But now you got all of a sudden now. So where was all this beforehand? See, this is my problem. This is my problem, right? Nobody's playing for Matt Nagy. Nobody's playing for decide.
No.
Nobody. He's not inspiring anybody.
No.
There's not anybody over there. There's nobody over there that they are afraid of when they walk down the hall. Right? Who was that? I want to say it was Julian Edelman was on with the Peyton Manning broadcast of Monday Night Football. I think it was this last week. And he said his phone rang, and it was an old ball coach from New England. And he got nervous, and he doesn't even play for the man anymore. And he answered the phone, "Yes, coach." He was scared of the man on the phone. He said when Belichick walks through that hallway, people step aside from the ball coach. Why? Because they know everybody's head is on the chopping block in there. If he can upgrade your position, he will. If he demands, there's no fear like that for the Chicago Bears. There's absolutely no fear. There's not a coach on there that's who has been the inspiring speech? Who is giving on any given Sunday speech? You're gonna have to get Pacino in there some kind of way and let him give you the inch by inch speech down there. That's what you're gonna have to do, because you already got what was my man's name? Who was playing quarterback at any given Sunday?
Oh my goodness.
Jamie Foxx.
Yeah.
But what was it? What was the players? I can't think of the name right now.
It'll come to me in a second.
Anyway, you already got him and Justin Fields. You already got it well cast already.
Yeah.
Oh, speaking of a movie, I know I'm gonna digress for about 30 seconds.
What's that?
Man, on Netflix, bro. I don't know if you've seen it. Get a chance to watch it. Halle Berry is in a movie.
I heard
Brees.
She's a boxer.
She's a MMA fighter.
Oh.
Hey, let me tell you something. I turned it on as a joke. You know, I see her with a little scratch on her face and something like that. I'm bruised. Oh, okay. I see the little 2-line caption. Oh, this is gonna be terrible. Dude, I woke up from a slumber at 1 o'clock in the morning off my couch. You know, when you fall asleep at 8:30, you wake up at 1 o'clock in the morning, you're on your couch. You know, one of those. Right. And you're done. Even though you got to go to work, be up at 7 o'clock to go to work, you're done. You're cooked. You're up at that point. I turned this on, like thinking, okay, well, I'm going to go 15 minutes of this, and it's going to put me back to sleep again. Dude, Halle Berry put in that work. I got lost for a while in there, and Halle Berry played crazy very well.
Right.
And dude, it's a good movie. I mean, it's action-packed. Halle Berry, tough. I mean, she was doing those MMA moves. Like, she actually looked like a chick who might be able to put it on you. I mean, dude, if you get an opportunity, I don't know what your schedule is tonight, but that is a popcorn popper right there. I would say right now that is a popcorn popper. Put it on, and tell me what you think about it. Hey, Halle Berry, Bruce, good movie.
We're gonna say it for the first time that we have a SIZZLE popcorn popper.
Wow, bro. That's crazy. That's so love, bro.
So we got a popcorn popper that comes out of this. So one of the good things is, if you can't do anything else, go and turn on Halle Berry, Netflix, get some MMA in there. But I got one question before we get ready to leave. I got an idea.
Yes, sir.
I got an idea.
Uh-oh.
After hearing his mouth for so long, like, he knows football, but at some point he grates on you because he's just aggravating. But he could be the right person. I got an idea. That Ted Phillips retires after this year, because the scrutiny now is, when you're getting talked about on Pro Football Focus and the NFL Network, when your name is being mentioned on the NFL Network, and they're saying you're the reason why there's this incompetency, it will be much easier for Ted. Yeah, it's much easier for you to just step aside and say, hey, man, I've been with this thing a long time. He's got to be close to his 70s. So he can just walk away and feel good about what he's done. But you get a real football guy in there. You get somebody who knows football. But the head coach that's on my mind, and I want your last thoughts about this. The head coach that is an Illinois native, played locally, collegiately, knows football because he comments on it every week. The next head coach of the Chicago Bears would be Tony Romo.
Oh, if he would take it. I don't know if he would take it. The Eastern Illinois grad, I don't know if he would take it because there's so many problems to fix with the Chicago Bears unless they give him complete autonomy. Is that the right word?
Yeah. Complete
I don't know
autonomy.
if that's the right word. Yeah.
No, complete autonomy, just like
yeah,
what's going on in Baltimore. Yeah. You'd have to give him complete everything.
Everything. I run this show. I say player personnel. I'm picking. I'm gonna put a committee together, but we're gonna work the draft, all of that, because I still
the GM works for him. The GM is actually the only person that Tony Romo would answer to would be the president of football operations.
Yeah, to get somebody like that, I don't even know if he would even. I don't even know if he even sniffed it that he would like to be in coaching, but I know he is either a football savant or he is a time traveler, because I know that man calls out plays right before they happen. You know, he can read defenses and he knows what play is going to happen. This ball's going over here. The ball's going over there. Tony Romo is fantastic at doing that. Somebody like that would be great. You're going to need an actual football mind in here. And I don't even know if you can get a football mind in here who's rebuilt something before. I think you got to get a fresh voice in here. But the problem with the NFL, and Nick Saban has saw this. You've had other, Urban Meyer has saw this. It's a different animal. It's a different animal. You know, when you can scare kids who are on a meal plan. You know what I'm saying? but it's hard to scare that guy in a Lambo and he got supermodels waiting for him at the house and he got more money than you 2 or 3 times. Because here's the thing that's funny now is that the college coaching is actually paying better than NFL coaching.
Yeah.
I mean, these top level guys are getting who's at the sign? Was it Michigan State? Who was it's 100? What was it, like 100 million or 115 million over 10 years?
Yeah, you know, Harbaugh signed an extension, and I don't believe you're going to get Ryan Day from Ohio State. There's no way I leave Ohio State to come to the Bears. Like my job security is too great there. I could be at Ohio State for the next 20 years, or be at the Bears for the next 3.
Right, absolutely. I could go through Columbus and drink a hot latte, and every place I go, people are waving at me. You know, my kids get an extra chocolate milk when they go through the lunch line. You know what I'm saying? My wife gets an extra scone when she goes into Starbucks. Why would I leave that? You know what I'm saying? Why would I leave that? You know, I quality of life. And I'm getting paid. And I'm getting paid more money than I would get paid in the NFL.
What is he making? Like $10 million? It's something like that.
Ridiculous amount of money. He's making more money than the NFL coach is making. Here's the issue, right? The NFL is hard to win in. That's why what Tom Brady did last year was so incredible. That's amazing what New England's able to come back. We see Dak Prescott and the Cowboys have the greatest talent pool that you could pull together down there. They have one of the best running backs in the league, one of the best wide receivers. Dak, top 5 quarterback on paper. but they can't pull it together. And they have a pretty decent offensive line and a decent defense, and they still can't figure out how to win. Not to win the championship.
They have a terrible
Very difficult
coach.
to do. I can't. Yeah, well, yeah, okay. So does the coach trump players, or does the players trump coaching? Because you got some people say if you have great players, they're going to win regardless. And I say no. I think a great coach can make a good player become not great but better than average. And if you can get a bunch of better than average guys all on the same page at one time, pulling on the line at the same time, I think you got a winning combination of players, and that's what you see up in New England with a Bill Belichick. That's what you see with a Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay had all the pieces, but they couldn't pull it together until they brought their head coach in number 12 down there. Right. Literally, he's the head coach. You know, what he says goes down there. So, again, back to our original statement, it was my hope that the Lions would have beat the Bears, because then that would have locked Matt Nagy out of Hallis Hall next year. I just have a sneaky suspicion that somehow, way, shape, or form, that if this same brain trust is up top, that you very well may see a Matt Nagy back at the home of the Bears, because I think you'll see a little resurgence on the back end, because I think they figured out Andy Dalton's able to run this offense better than Justin Fields right now. Mm-hmm. And I wouldn't be surprised if they don't try, even when Justin Fields is ready to go, that they don't try Andy Dalton back out again.
Well, ultimately, this was the nightmare that was getting ready to happen. Once you got Justin Fields, when you just had Andy Dalton, you knew what you were going to get. You were going to get a 500 football team that was going to be able to run his system. But the minute you threw that young man into this mix, you knew that Matt Nagy was going to do everything in his power to win games. And if that meant sacrificing Justin Fields because he wants a certain offense run the way he wants to run to win games, he would do that. And so obviously you have a child that's hurt. He wouldn't be out with just a nicked up or bruised ribs. This young man has been taking a pounding, literal pounding, since he was named as a starter. And the one thing about Andy Dalton is Andy Dalton's not going to let you hit him that hard, because he's going to get rid of the ball.
He still took that same pounding in college. This is nothing new. He been getting whacked by a bat for many times right now. The issue is that this is a guy who is not fit for this system.
Right.
And since he's not fit for this system, he's a guy. You know what this is? This is the hangover from Patrick Mahomes. Mm. You know, this guy's not Kyler Murray, where he's going to who's fast enough and who can get the ball off. Mm. We've seen Justin Fields, who is too tough. Kyler Murray is not going to stand there and get hit because he knows he can't get hit. Mm-hmm. He's going to get on the move and get rid of the football. Justin Fields is too doggone brave for his own good. He's going to sit in the pocket and throw the football because he's a strong, tough guy. He reminds you a little bit of Saquon Barkley. You know, I'm a tough guy, all this, but his joints aren't going to hold up. Well, Justin Fields' rib cage isn't going to hold up. You know, he keeps getting whacked in his head because he doesn't know how to slide. Mm-hmm. All these things that he doesn't know how to do, and they're all coming back to haunt him, because the best thing he has is that 4.3 speed.
You know who he reminds me of is Deshaun Watson. Deshaun Watson
absolutely
and Justin Fields are the same dude. They are the same player. They're going to sit there and take that lick. They're going to get hit. They're tough guys, uber athletic, great players, and end up in ICU somewhere trying to get recovered from a punctured lung or something that they took, because you've got a stubborn head coach and you got a stubborn kid as the QB. So
history has shown this type of quarterback, except for very few exceptions like Russell Wilson, last in the NFL. This type of quarterback does not last long. This RG3 prototype does not last long in the NFL. The only person who's really been playing well like that is Lamar Jackson, but Lamar Jackson is a unicorn. He is a one-off guy. He's one of those guys who come around. And I'm gonna tell you, he's not the greatest passer in the world either. No. He is really a wildcat wide receiver playing quarterback who can throw the football. That's how I look at Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson is not a fantastic thrower of the football. He puts the ball down into spaces. He has a long delivery, and he's figured out how to drop the ball in spaces. And sometimes he has some touch, but he's not. Did you see him? Was it him that was in the NFL quarterback thing about, what was that, 2 or 3 years ago? Where they were? Did you remember that they had him?
He was doing that thing with Gruden.
But no. They were all like trying to hit like balloons on a board and pop balloons.
Oh, it was a skills challenge.
A skills challenge, dude. He couldn't hit the broadside of a barn with a tractor. You know what I'm saying? And so that just showed you that he did not have that skill set to put the ball in these tight windows, right? But why is he able to throw the way he throws? Because they got to play spy on him or he's going to take off and go on you. So now he's throwing the ball a lot of times back shoulder or one-on-one, guys are running free in space. But if he has to sit back in 7 and they've dropped 6 and 7 back in coverage and he has to sit there and pat the football and get the ball out, that's not his forte. And that's when he gets crushed back there. So if you can make him sit back there and throw the football, you can beat Lamar Jackson. So this is what we have with Justin Fields. He is the prototype of a quarterback that's not going to be able to last in the NFL. These guys have short windows. Very few of these guys are going to go 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 years with one ball club. Very few Russell Wilsons out of this. I would have rather seen Mac Jones in here, Trevor Lawrence, somebody like that. When they get a chance to get Trevor, but somebody like that who can stand tall, deliver the football, who could slide in the pocket, and they could actually build a real NFL offensive line. Because just like we see with Patrick Mahomes right now, that we're starting to see, we're going to figure out, as soon as we figure you out, we're going to hit you in the mouth.
Yeah. So Justin Fields, the new Willie Beeman of the
Willie
NFL.
Beeman, steaming Willie Beeman. Yeah, he's Willie Beeman.
Yeah. I mean, and really, that's who Lamar Jackson is. He really is Willie Beeman. I mean, he's the true life version of Willie Beeman. And you saw it with the Ravens. Weird enough, even when they have a Lamar Jackson fill-in, still did the same thing to the Bears. And it just gives you indication that not only do the Bears suck, they really suck. Because
the UCLA kid,
you just lost to a backup.
I didn't even know he was in the league. I didn't even know Huntley was in the league. The kid out of UCLA. I didn't know he was in the league.
Listen, man, we didn't talk about this, but before we go, we haven't talked about Cam Newton and what your thoughts are about Cam and his return to Carolina. So this is my shout out to my North Carolina folk.
Well, hey, you know what I like about Cam? Cam is a never say die type of guy. Yeah. In his mind, he's the greatest thing since sliced bread. Matter of fact, he starts slicing the bread himself. Mm-hmm. He has been that guy until he gets hit. And then when he gets hit, we all fall down. We all fall down and we don't get up. Cam is a hit away from who got knocked? Nate Robinson. He's a hit away from Nate Robinson. So the thing about it is, look, Cam, stay up, get rid of the football, don't run the ball too much, no more big hits. You know what I'm saying? I think his shoulder is better now because he hasn't really been using it. Mm-hmm. They sort of right now he feels great. Let's see 2 more ball games from now. Let's see how good he feels. And I think you'll see the old Cam will pop back up again. Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden we'll see a guy who can't throw the football more than 30 yards. And after that happens, it's over.
Yeah. It's so much that's going on right now. Kyler Murray seems to be a lot more hurt than we first imagined. He's been out, 3 games now? I don't think he's going to play against the Bears in their upcoming tilt. I don't think he has to. I think if there's a game you could sleep, it's probably the Bears game. And you just work on getting that conditioning and getting him right again. So you got a lot going on. Josh Allen, love him, takes a lot of big hits. I mean, this kid takes
too many.
He took some hits. The Saints tagged him a couple of times. That helicopter hit that he took for that first down run he made, I don't think it was necessary, but the kid is from Upper California in the fields, and he
stopped doing it.
Yeah, he took a massive hit.
All these guys should go talk to who was playing before Tom Brady, and he ran outside the pocket and got smacked. Good old number 11 from the New England Patriots. Remember when Tom Brady was a backup? Remember that guy used to just stand back there, just stand tall and throw the football, Drew Bledsoe.
Oh, yeah.
How did he get hurt? Because he went out there doing what he didn't need to be doing, running the football. Look, there's a reason why 5-1 40-yard dash time Tom Brady has been able to play 20-plus seasons in the NFL. You want to know why? Because Tom Brady knows he can't get outside and run away from anybody. So what does Tom Brady do? He makes sure that he gets the protection that he needs. He makes sure that he gets the right offensive lineman in there. He makes sure that everybody knows how to pick up the blitz packages. He makes sure that everybody knows what's going on. And I'm going to sit in this pocket. I'm going to slide up and down in this pocket. And I'm going to play 20 years within 4 feet of the football being snapped. Because that's where I live. That's where I make my money. All you guys rolling out and running out there and diving for the yellow line and all that, you're not going to last. Mm-hmm. Take it from the GOAT. The GOAT showed you how to do it. Stay slow, all right? Stay slow.
Hey.
Don't stop using your speed and sit in the pocket. Move your feet. Learn the protections, Justin, because you're going to get hit in the mouth again coming off that left side because you ain't figured out how to pick that up yet. Who's the mic, Justin? Who's the mic? Turn the defense. Mm-hmm. If you got to sit down here and call the defensive end down there to the mic, and everybody's going to turn to him, then do it. It's my biggest problem is that these guys are depending on their physical attributes. And just like the young fella up in Seattle, Mr. Sierra, he has figured out that I cannot win these ball games with my legs alone. Now, he scrambles and runs around like he's crazy, but the one thing he does, he don't take them super hits. He gets down, he gets rid of the football. And that's why he's still in the league. All these Kyler Murray, all you guys, Jones, all y'all, running around. Guess who's going to be in the league 10 years from now? Mac Jones. Mm-hmm. Mac Jones going to be here. Slinging it. All the guys. Look at Big Ben. Here, Big Ben. How long has Big Ben been standing in the same place, in the same place in the pocket for all these years? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Oh, he's got to be, 17, 18 years now?
Yeah. And the
something
sad
crazy,
part,
16, 17?
He's injured himself more than football players have injured themselves.
Absolutely. Ride his motorcycle in the cars and everything else like just falling out of hot tubs, whatever he did. Mm-hmm. But here's the guy who just doesn't move either. Mm-hmm. He stands there like a statue and delivers the football, and he knows the coverages. Mm-hmm. He knows the coverages. He knows how to stop the blitzes. He knows how to get to the hot read. Another old guy, right? You young guys need to look at these old guys and go, how do I play for 10, 12 years in the league? Tony Romo. Did you see Tony Romo running around out there? Nope. You didn't see that guy. Drew Brees. Drew Brees was another one, right? 4'7", playing quarterback. What would Drew Brees do? He would be in the pocket. He would slide outside. He wasn't out there taking off running like he was a running back. No. No. Look what these old-time guys do. The guys all up on the leaderboard. How many running quarterbacks do you see up on the passing leaderboard? I'll wait. I don't think you see one in the top 10 and top 15. Not a running quarterback. You know, Michael Vick, maybe?
Michael Vick was a little skewed. I think probably, I can't even say like a Randall Cunningham.
But Randall Cunningham was just a guy who could get outside. He had the natural ability. Yeah. He was that hybrid, but he was really a passer first, runner second. And you don't really think of Randall Cunningham as an actual running QB. He was just that hybrid who could break outside contain, but he was a guy a lot like Warren Moon. Yep. Warren Moon was a guy who's going to sit in the pocket and deliver the football.
All the time.
Steve McNair. Going to sit in the pocket and deliver the football. Brian Leftwich, had he not been injured, sit in the pocket and deliver the football.
Cordell Stewart. I mean, we could go through. There are a list of them that he would slash. Yeah, he would get up and run when he had to flee, but still a very efficient pocket quarterback.
Right, you got to play pocket quarterback. Now this RPO that they brought in, it wasn't for the guys who don't run the RPO. Do you see Tom Brady run the RPO? Do you see Bill Rupp? They might run it one time, just a ha-ha, he-he's on that, but he's handing the football off. And it's a run-pass option. That means the running back's going to run with the football or I'm going to pass it because I'm not going to run with it. You know? I'm not going to run with the football. That's not going to happen. So
let's wrap this up. Let's put a nice bow on this. Since we're here. I
don't know if we can. Yeah.
Are we saying that a Matt Nagy, which one's going to last longer? That's the question right now. Is Matt Nagy going to last longer than Justin Fields? Or is Justin Fields going to outlast Matt Nagy?
Well, I think Justin Fields, that's a good question. I don't know. Justin Fields is a run away from just getting tattooed, and that's going to be that. You know what I'm saying? That he's just going to get leveled. He's going to get leveled, and they go. You know when they start doing this, they start waving you in they just start one of those. You know, because he gets hit awkwardly. I've seen he gets hit in the back of the head, the back of the neck. You know, he gets blasted in his rib cage. He don't take this to, the hit, he gonna roll over and get up. Right. He gets hit because he's used to being a tough guy. He's one of those guys who's too tough to play quarterback. I think you gotta be mentally tough to play quarterback and be able to take the hits. But he's one of those guys out there who wants to, I'm gonna show you, I'm gonna run into you too. But I think Justin Fields will outlast Matt Nagy. But I have a stinking suspicion here that Matt Nagy is still going to be your coach at the end of this year. And it's very possible that he gets rolled back out next year as your coach. I really believe so. Because I think the Bears are going to figure out a way under Andy Dalton to figure out how to win a couple more football games. And that's going to be enough for this upper brass to hold on to Matt Nagy. Hey, it's first losing season. You want stability at the coaching position, sir. Stability. Look at all the great. Look at all the greats. He has stability. We just can't be changing all the time. He's our guy. He's Mike Tomlin. He's our guy. Rolling with that. Hey, stop, boy. Hey,
how dare you? How dare you? That was
Doopy.
How dare you put you can't even, the nerve. How Unmitigated.
I would not, because they love Matt Nagy up there now. They love Matt Nagy's their guy.
Well, Matt Nagy's their
great.
guy because he doesn't give any pushback. He capitulates to everything that they want to do. So it's all good with Matt, like if this is what upper management wants to do, we have a great relationship. We talk every other day, and I tell them like, this is what I'm going to do. And they're like, yeah, this is what we're going to do.
Yeah. It's tough. It's tough to be a fan of the Chicago Bears. Put all your hopes on the Bulls, but I don't know. I think they're going to be good. I think they're going to get it back together, though. I think they're going to play well. But
first of all,
Chicago Bears.
You got to figure out. I mean, you got to figure out with Vujacic. And this COVID thing is real. Trust, I know.
Oh, absolutely.
A lot of these players who have come in contact, and it's not that they're testing just positive, is that they have COVID. And the major thing is you can't get your wind back. You can't run up and down that court now again for 47 minutes. You can't.
Right, because here's the thing about it. COVID affects a lot of people differently. Mm-hmm. But if it gets on you and it's hard to breathe, it's hard to breathe. We've seen that happen across the league. We saw that happen with Cam for a long time there. Mm-hmm. We've seen that with other players that they're not, for the next 2 to 3 months, they're not who they were before when they got their COVID.
Right.
And they got a new strain coming now out of what they always, all the bad stuff comes out of Africa. I don't know why.
Always.
But they got another.
Make sure that you follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Iron Skillet Sports. And remember to like, share, and subscribe to Iron Skillet Sports on YouTube at Iron Skillet Sports.
One coming out of there, Omicron.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to go through all the Greek letters now.
Yeah. I'm just telling you, when it gets to Omega, that's when it's a wrap.
Hey, all you got to do is start playing Atomic Dog, though.
That's it.
And all the scientists will figure it out. Swing down, sweet chariot.
Let me ride. That's all I'm saying, bruh. I'm just saying. When it gets to that point, but yeah, man. The Bulls got to pull themselves together. The Bears got to pull themselves together. And the Blackhawks have to settle with this young man and get this thing over with.
Well, here's the problem. Here's the problem with the Blackhawks. Let me explain this to all GMs, head coaches, and everything else out there, all right? Do not try to bury stuff that won't stay dead, okay? This was not going to stay dead, all right? Y'all didn't pay this guy $40 million to shut up.
Right.
He almost got his career taken from him. If you did, you should have, if you didn't want him to say nothing, then you should have paid him, had him sign the non-disclosure form and bury it. But you didn't bury it, and you like this guy over here, just like Penn State up there with was it Sandusky? Just like that, because you're close to him, but he's causing you problems. And this wasn't the first time this guy was sneaking around trying to get after the NHL young guys coming in. I'm surprised somebody didn't whip his behind. That's what I'm surprised about. One of them guys just didn't clack him upside his head and dot both of his eyes. I'm talking about, I ain't about that business, you know? Mm-hmm. So here's my take on that, right? You had gratification then, but there was going to be hell to pay on the back end, right? And you got to look long-term on this. You should have fell on your sword right then. You should have got this guy away from your team right then, and you would have had a better chance that this thing does not raise its head. You would have still been NHL champions. That wasn't going to change. So why waste your loyalty on a guy who's this disloyal to you?
Right.
If a guy in your organization is going to bring this type of scrutiny, do you mean to tell me there weren't other people that he could try to date? but apparently he couldn't because he didn't have the power play. That was it because he knew he was just like the guy with the gymnast, right? He's taking advantage of all the gymnast girls because he know he can. Because they're not going to go back and say anything because they're, making that 6 to 8 person Olympic team or 6 to 8 person world team is difficult to make it. There's always 5 or 6 other girls who had opportunity who should be on that team, but because of a point or two here or whatever situation is, they didn't make it in the trial. Well, if you have a guy who has that type of control who can squash your entire career, they have power over you. And so that's the same with this Blackhawks team. But once this thing came up and upper management found out about this, they should have threw this guy to the wolves right there. Just like Sandusky at Penn State, they should have been thrown him to the wolves. Just like Larry Nassar from the Olympic Committee should have been thrown to the wolves as soon as you found out about that. Don't tolerate this nonsense because this is going to come back. This is Freddy Krueger. It's going to come back. It's going to come and get you, and then secondly, it's the right thing to do. If somebody's taking advantage of somebody because they are able to do so, especially in the sexual type situation, how low is that? You know what I'm saying? If he wanted to get his little jollies off, there was a whole bunch of different ways he could have did it. Mm-hmm. And to be that overt, right? Yeah. In a game that, I'll say it this way, a manly game like hockey. Mm-hmm. What happens if somebody that gets around and people start talking about, hey, that guy down there, and people start bad mouthing him, or somebody comes around and just point them in the eye for no reason. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? So they should have never let that happen. They should have got rid of this guy right from the beginning. Any team that tolerates these type of guys, you get your just desserts.
Thank you for listening to The Sizzle, the hottest sports talk in the 219, here on Iron Skillet Television and Iron Skillet Radio.